Well, welcome to 20 Minutes with Mike. I'm so pleased that you're joining me today. I have a very interesting topic I want to talk about today, something that's very near and dear to my heart, and that is my book, LegalEase, The Ultimate Guide on How to Survive a Law Practice. What I want to talk about today, in part, is the book, what it's contained in the book, but I think more importantly, why I wrote the book and why I think it is such a critical read for anyone who is a practicing lawyer or is thinking about becoming a practicing lawyer. I had the great benefit, when I was 25 years old, I graduated from law school and went to work with the Santa Clara County Public Defender's Office. And that gave me the opportunity to hang out with very experienced lawyers very early in my career. We hung out a lot at a place called the San Jose Cafe, which was a bar. And at the bar, I learned a lot. I heard the stories of guys that had been practicing for 10, 15, 20 years. I would listen to the strategies that they would use. I would listen to how they would deal with judges and district attorneys and clients and how to address particular problems. And the upshot of it was I really learned a lot about practicing law. But I also got to make some very interesting observations. I got to observe and see the impact of practicing law had on these very dedicated attorneys. And I got to witness firsthand burnout. I got to witness firsthand substance abuse and too much drinking. I got to witness people who really struggled with the stress of the practice. Being a criminal defense lawyer, and particularly as a public defender, I think there's a tremendous amount of stress. And the question is, how do you deal with it? And I know, because I know lots of lawyers, that this is not limited to being a criminal defense lawyer. Family law lawyers go through this, and bankruptcy lawyers go through this, and personal injury lawyers go through this. I mean, so it doesn't really matter what your practice area is. And so over many years, I made these observations, and I would talk to people, and I would just sort of see what was going on. And I realized that that was not the life that I wanted to live. Now, the business aspect of practicing law, that came about much later, but the impact of watching people struggle with the stress of being a practicing lawyer. I mean, let's face it, what do you do as a lawyer is you take on other people's problems and then you try to fix them. And many times you're trying to fix them at the same time that they're trying to make them worse. They're not listening to your advice. They're continuing to engage in whatever conduct it was that got them in trouble in the first place. And it can be very, very stressful on the lawyer because, innately, we all want our clients to be successful. I mean, the best cases are the ones where we get a good outcome for our clients. Yes, it's good for us. It's good for our reputation. It's good for our ego. But we get the best, at least I do. I get the greatest joy from getting the best outcome for a client, even when they don't necessarily appreciate that. And so over the many years, I just kind of gathered this information. And then about 4 years ago, I started writing this book, LegalEase. And initially, it was a how to do book, how to be more efficient with your time, how to, use little tricks and things. But as the book began to manifest itself, as it began to develop, I realized that there was a whole lot more going on. And the upshot of the book was really how to survive the stress of the practice. Now, I wrote the book in a way that it was easy to read. I it's what I call a bathroom book. It's the kind of book that you could read, one chapter at a time, and over a course of, less than a month, you would have gotten through every chapter if you only read one chapter at a time. It's quick read. It's got lots of stories. And what I did is I took out the why. Why does this work? So there's a chapter in there about making your bed. Okay. Why is it important that one makes their bed? Well, I could have written, chapters and chapters, hundreds of, or thousands of words on the keystone principles and foundational principles of why it's important to make your bed. If you want to know that, if that's important to you, then you can read the books that I relied upon to do that. Because what I basically did is I read hundreds of books and I took the information from those books and I condensed it down into something that was going to be quick and easy to read. See, one of the struggles that I have noted with a lot of lawyers, maybe all lawyers, is that they feel a time crunch, right? They don't believe they have enough time to do the things that they want to do, to go on vacation, to take weekends, to disconnect from their cell phones, to, have hobbies, to enjoy themselves. They get bogged down in this lack of time. And what I also notice is the people who feel like they have no time are the same people who don't feel like they have the time to invest to learn how to fix the problem. And so I was really trying to come up with a quick solution that if you read this book, and you could get through the entire book in probably 2 to 2.5 hours. And if you don't read the foreword or the introduction, a lot faster than that, although I would encourage you to do that, to read those, because it kind of lays out this whole formula that I'm talking about. But I wanted to get people to the point where they could read this quickly and go, oh, you know what? Making my bed, taking the 30 seconds or 2 minutes or whatever it is to make my bed every day sets up a small victory that I can begin to build momentum. Many of the chapters talk about, the morning routine and the importance of having that small victory so that you can begin to build momentum as you start your day. I think, and I've done this, but I think a lot of people struggle with, they start their day, they turn on the news and bad news, blah, 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 bad news, bad news, bad news. They go under their email and they see this, incredibly long list of stuff that's being demanded of them. And before they've even finished their first morning cup of coffee, they're already beginning to feel overwhelmed. And the goal here is to dig through that and start your day not feeling overwhelmed. Start your day with a victory. You make your bed. That's a victory. For me, sitting down, for 10 minutes, sometimes more, but at least 10 minutes to meditate really is a victory that makes me, calm and feel like, okay, I just took 10 minutes for me for no other reason than it was good for me. I write in my gratitude journal, the 5 to 10 things that I'm grateful for today. And they, many times they repeat, but many times they change. The weather is beautiful. We have electricity today. How wonderful is that? How many people on this planet don't? We have clean running water. If you're not grateful for that every once in a while, you don't really understand what's going on in the rest of the world, right? If you have a job, you have abundance flowing into your life. You should be grateful for that. I mean, there's just an entire laundry list. If you have people that you love and care about, you should be grateful for them. If you have a law practice, you should be grateful for that you have the ability to actually make a living doing something that you think is important. So I talk about all of that in the book as starting your day with small victories that will begin to build the momentum. Now, I'm not naive. I know that during the course of the day, you probably have some pretty crappy things that you're going to have to do. You may have to give people bad news. You may have to go in front of a judge who's very hostile, who, won't do what you want. I mean, I just wrote a sentencing memo on a case in which the recommendation was 30 years for my client. I made some objections. I sent it to the probation. That recommendation came down to 280 months, which is still a ridiculous amount of time, 20 plus years. I want 10 years for it. Now, the fact that I'm trying to get a client 10 years just sounds almost kind of ridiculous, but certainly getting 10 years is way better than 30. So, there are some difficult things that we have to deal with. And I know that that particular client is not going to be happy no matter how this thing turns out. The question is, how unhappy will they be? We don't always get the results that we want. Sometimes we get, results that are not as good as we were hoping for. Many times, though, I have to say, over the course of my years, I've had good success. Two of the last three trials, I got acquittals where clients went home found not guilty of anything, in which I would say that was not necessarily unexpected for me, but certainly the DA was surprised. I did an attempted murder case earlier this year, in which I got my client to offer 8 years, and the DA basically laughed at me, and then we got him acquitted, and he went home. My point is that during the course of the day, if you are a lawyer, you can anticipate you're going to have difficult times. You're going to have difficult conversations. You're going to have difficult things to deal with. Our job is hard, and it's stressful. So starting your day on a good note is probably the best thing that you can do to get you to the finish line of that day so you can start the next day, right, on a positive note. And I think as a a pro tip, if you can end your day on a positive note, either with a meditation or gratitude, or just spending time with people that you love, and turning off your phone and just going, you know what, there's tomorrow, I'll deal with this tomorrow, will help you get through the process. I talk in my book a great deal about the importance of sleep. You are never going to perform at your best if you don't get enough sleep. Chronic sleep deprivation not only is bad for your health, but it's bad for you mentally. It will wear you down to the point where your productivity and your performance will not be as good as it could be. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you can't perform if you have chronic sleep deprivation. I mean, as an adventure racer, and I talk about this in the book, going 48 hours, without sleeping, over the course of 10 days, only sleeping a couple hours a night. Am I at peak performance while I'm doing that? No, but it's a race. And so you keep plodding along, you keep going forward. But for what we do, that is not a great strategy. You need to be inventive. You need to be creative. You need to think outside the box. You need to come up with solutions. One of our taglines for our firm for many, many years has been creative solutions for difficult problems. Clients find themselves in difficult situations. They do things, or at least it appears that they did things that were very serious and very problematic. And how do we get around that? How do we explain what was going on? How do we get the district attorney to do what we want, or the judge that we do what we want, or the jury to do what we want? In order to do that, in order to have at least a good shot at that, you need to get good sleep. I talk in the book about, valuing your time, right? Not overloading yourself. I know so many small and solo law firm owners who do everything themselves. If they run out of paper clips, they're running down to Staples. Well, that is that is just not a good use of your time. If you have a bar card, you should not be driving down the Staples to, pick up reams of paper. I mean, you could pick up a phone and order that kind of stuff. But there's so many tasks that I see lawyers doing that is not a good use of their time and effort and energy, because they either haven't been taught or don't understand that by putting their energy into money making billable hours, they can easily afford the staff to do all of the other things, the bookkeeping, the accounting, the, answering the phones, the setting appointments, the opening the files, the closing the files, all of those things that do not require a bar card whatsoever. What they require is just someone, who's relatively smart and can follow directions. By having scripts in your firm about how things are done, virtually anybody can do that. You can pay someone, you need to always pay a fair market wage. I talk about that in the book as well. Is you need to pay someone a fair market wage, both for your own credibility and also to get good employees. But a fair market wage, might be $20-$25 an hour versus, I'm at a point in my career where I bill at $600 an hour. So how many hours do I need to bill to pay for my staff? Well, not very many. And if I'm only working, really focused on working 2, 3, 4 hours a day, that will pay for all of that staff. Tim Ferriss and many other studies, have demonstrated that you really can only work at maximum capacity for, a couple hours a day. That doesn't mean that you can't do busy work. That doesn't mean that, you can't be answering the emails and actually being productive. But, your highest creative time is going to be limited to a few hours. It's like, I did a workout yesterday on the Peloton, and there's a program, called Power Zone, right? And there's Power Zone Endurance where you work at out of 7 zones, you work at a zone 2 and 3. Okay, so you're working hard, you're getting a sweat, but you're not like killing yourself. But yesterday I did Power Zone Max, which meant I would do short bursts at zone 7. So basically as hard as I could possibly go for 20 seconds at a time. Now, you can't do that for very long, right? I mean, I was maxed out for 20 seconds. If I had to go 25 seconds or 30 seconds, man, I would have really been suffering. I did 16 of those things. My point is that you can only, work at maximum capacity for short intervals. And so if you think about it from a physical perspective. So I talk about all of these things in the book. And I think, as I say, I wrote it in a way that I believe that any lawyer, I don't care if you've been practicing for 15 minutes or for 50 years, will learn something in that book. How to, the 80-20 rule, how to manage your energy versus your time, how to value your time, tricks like time blocking and not looking at your email till late in the morning or early afternoon. I don't look at my email until probably the earliest is 11 o'clock. How to manage that email, how to manage your phone calls, when to take things and when to be interrupted. I cover all of that in the book. And you can get this book 2 different ways. You can go onto Amazon and just order it, and they will deliver it to your door. Or you can contact me directly, and I'll send you a signed copy. I love signed copies of books. I have many books that I get the authors to sign. I think that's a real treasure. If that's important to you, email me at mchastain@gmail. mchastain, CHASTAINE @gmail. I will sign a copy and I will mail it out to you, and I will charge you what they charge us through Amazon. I don't have a ton of those copies left. So there goes the crow, and there's the 20-minute howl. So I'm at the end of the 20 minutes, but if you want the book and you want to contact me directly, I'm happy to send you a copy. I'll even, put your name on it if you like, or get it through Amazon. But I'm just saying, I wrote it so that it would be really, really useful. I have never met anyone who has read the book who did not find that there was something there that they could use immediately to make their life a little bit easier. And if you incorporate, 80% of the stuff, it'll change your practice. It really will. That's why I wrote it. I think it's a wonderful book. It'd be a wonderful book no matter who wrote it, but I did my best to make it easy and simple. All right, everybody, I hope you have a great day. I highly recommend you get this book and read through it, and I would be very interested in your input. Is it what I represented it to be? Is it the book that every new lawyer should read? I think it is. But I'd be very interested in your input. All right, everybody, have a great day. And remember, be grateful for what you have and be willing to work for what you want. All right, y'all, take care. Bye-bye.